mo pa nga aga, haaton nga tanan. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning everyone. Welcome to the sixth episode of MES 2025, the monthly ethics seminar series of the University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board. I am your moderator for today, Lacanuhay Dorado Alegre, the new Junior Research Analyst Extension Specialist. MES, for everyone's information, of course including myself, no? Kasi nga po bago ako, is a monthly public service information drive of the University of the Philippines Diliman Research Ethics Board. It is designed to serve as a platform for the UP Diliman research community to participate in the discourse of responsible and ethical conduct of research, most especially those involving human participants. Much of the topics are tailored fit to the current research and scholarly needs of UP Diliman, as well as its academic stakeholders and partners. MES also serves as an avenue to be updated with the latest ethical approaches and standards in research. Also as a reminder to our regular or yung mga suki na po natin na participants dito, no? As well as a briefer to our new participants online, no? Please, MES is designed to be informal din po pala and conversational. Hence the idea of actually having conversations and exchanges of insights over lunch. At dahil dyan, ang natatanging wish ko lang po sa ating lahat ngayon, kahit po remote tayo, no, at nasa Zoom po tayo, para sa ating mga kalahok sa Zoom, sana po masarap ang ulam natin ngayon. Ayan po. Kung nagtitiwala naman po kayo na masarap ang ulam nyo, pakibigay na lang po ng masigabong virtual na palakpak sa ating lahat, no? Ayan. Yon, thank you very much. Thank you po. While we're also enjoying our lunch, please be informed that we are currently live streaming this mess episode on the official Facebook page of UPDREB. But don't worry, the camera is on the side no, of this side of the room or the Zoom room natin. Hindi naman po tayo makikitang kumakain at kaya po pwede din makapag-close na lang muna tayo ng cameras while the session is ongoing. The recording of this session will also be available on our website soon, no, right after this. And of course, please like, share, and subscribe to our social media accounts. Just type in UP Diliman Research Ethics Board on Facebook and YouTube. Should you want to access our website, we also have our Google Sites account. Same thing lang po, just type in UP Diliman Research Ethics Board. At makikita nyo na po lahat ng resource materials na meron po doon. Before I proceed and actually introduce our speaker for today, please allow me to read some of our reminders, no? First, yeah, everyone is encouraged to have their lunch while listening to the guest speaker. Alalahanin po natin, kagaya ng wish ko po sa inyo ngayon, sana po masarap ang ulam natin today. Pangalawa, please take note of your questions. We have an open forum allotted for participating actively in polls, question and answers, and discussions right after the speaker delivers his talk. No? Make sure to keep your microphone muted when not speaking, especially for our Zoom participants. At pang-apat po, to receive your certificates, kindly fill out the evaluation form that will be given pagkatapos po ng seminar series natin. All the Zoom participants will be given certificates of attendance. Ayan po. And now, without any further ado, let me introduce our guest speaker. Our guest speaker is a leading figure in research ethics in the Philippines, with decades of experience shaping ethical standards in health research. He has served as chair of the National Ethics Committee of the Department of Science and Technology since 2023 and as the chair of the Committee on Information Dissemination, Training, and Advocacy of the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board since 2016. In these roles, he has advanced national initiatives in ethics training, policy development, and community engagement in responsible research ethics conduct. At the University of the Philippines College of Medicine, our guest speaker has served in multiple leadership roles, including Vice Chair for Research of the Department of Obst- Obstetrics and Gynecology. Since 1991, he has conducted 42 drug and vaccine trials and extensive research on infectious diseases in obstetric and gynecology, often navigating complex ethical considerations in study design, participant protection, and data integrity. Widely recognized as the father of the OB-GYN infectious disease subspecialty in the Philippines, His work has informed national guidelines and clinical practice policies. His research has helped contribute to guidelines and policy development, aiding in discussions regarding clinical practice guidelines produced by medical societies. Throughout his career, he has held more than 220 speaking engagements locally and internationally. He has continuously taught and trained other specialists on infectious diseases in obstetrics and gynecology, and has mentored practitioners in the field of bioethics and research ethics. Among the accolades he received are the Philippine Obstetrical and Gynecological Society Baldomero Rojas Award for Academic Distinction, Honoria Acosta Season Award of Merit for Research, the Dr. Gloria Aragon Award for the Outstanding Faculty in Research at the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, the 2023 Outstanding Research Award from the University of the Philippines Medical Alumni Society, and the 2024 Distinguished Alumni Award for Science and Technology from the University of the Philippines Alumni Association. Mga kasama, please help me welcome Dr. Ricardo M. Manalastas Jr. Bigyan naman po natin siya ng virtual na applause. Yan po. Doc, I turn over the Zoom to you and we'll be sharing po your slides as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lakanuhay. I think hindi ako naging chair ng UPM Rev pero I really recall. Baka hindi pa UPM Rev before ang tawag. Was chair of the Research Ethics Committee in UP Manila. Anyway, thank you for the invitation to speak to you in this forum, MES. I didn't know may MES pala, no, yung UP Diliman. But I'm happy to know that there is an ongoing MES. I know I should not start with an apology, kaya lang I need to, kasi dapat last month pa to, for reason, hindi natuloy, both from our sides, I think. And again, apologies for, wait. Yeah. Sabi nga ni Lakanuhay, so less formal tayo, so now and then I will speak in Tagalog para mas conversational tayo. I was going to say, gusto ko sanang mag-drive to UP Diliman. Baka kasi magkaroon ng technical difficulties yung pag-share ko slide. And in fact, what will happen now, and I hope it's not too irritating to all of you, I sent my slide deck to Flora, and I think Elaine is going to assist in sharing the slides para na lang hindi magulo. No? So kaya lang nakaka-irritate, I know, when I say next slide, next slide, next slide, lalo na madami yung slides ko. But hopefully, I'll be able to share with you the chosen topic. Actually, gusto nila pag-usapan yung PNHRS law. Eh sabi ko, hindi naman ako lawyer, hindi ko masyadong alam yung PNHRS law. And then, buti na lang si Professor Hungria, sabi niya, any topic that you feel comfortable discussing. So I said, maybe research ethics review, kasi nga, this is the main gist of what we are all doing right now. And I'll share na lang my experience in the National Ethics Committee as you know, I've been introduced as part of that committee. Yan. Okay, sige. So disclosures yung mga yan. Ayan. So the overall objective of this presentation is to talk about research ethics review in the context lang, kasi sabi interested ng konti sa PNHRS law. Ito yung batas, I'll describe it in a little while. And the role of the board, Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Yun kasi yung parang nag-constitute sa National Ethics Committee. Sila yung nagsabing, hoy, mag-organize kayo ng National Ethics Committee. Ni-revive nila. And I'll share some bits of history about it. Dahil academic institution ng UP Diliman, I'm an alumnus of UP Diliman from way, way back. Kaya nagbaroon ako ng t-shirt. Yan. Gusto ko lang ma-share yung experience ng UP Manila. Alam niyo naman, din ako sa UP Manila. In fact, I'm a retired professor actually. I'm still connected as a clinical professor kasi nga, di ba, OB daw ako. Yan, ganun. So hopefully we can, I can share a few insights on these topics. Yan. Next. Okay, let's start with the law, no, yung PNHRS. Initially kasi they wanted me to talk about this, pero sabi ko nga, disclaimer, hindi ako expert on this. This is a law. It's a batas siya ng Pilipinas, no? It was enacted in 2013, and I just picked this part of the law, no, na related sa pinag-uusapan natin. Sinabi ng batas, requires ethics review and approval of research involving human participants, right? And dinelegate nila, minandate nila sa mga research ethics committees that are accredited by the board, yung Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Yung board na yon, I have to disclose, I'm also a member of that board. Gumawa sila ng various committees. And one of those committees is the what we call CSA, Committee for Standards and Accreditation. I'm not a member of that committee, no? So hindi ko masyadong talagang kabisado an idea of the accreditation process. But anyway, there is that committee that handles accreditation. Yung board also, this FREB, created the training committee, which I had as chairman. No? Yung sabi kanina sa introduction, I've been with it for the past 6 or 7 years already. We conduct the training for interested in research ethics and good research practice, etc. Right? So, ito yung role ng batas. And through the FREB, yung FREB ang gumawa ng policy, gumawa sila ng committees to implement those policies and the batas. Parang ganun yun, no? Next. So ito yung FREB, no? Ito yung features ng FREB. This is the board, this is the policy making body. Sabi ko nga, gumawa sila ng Committee on Accreditation and sila yung nag-accredit ng RECs to act as oversight and to monitor the activities of the RECs. I understand, of course, I know that UP Diliman is applying pa lang for accreditation. Nag-apply na sila, may konti lang yatang technical na lang, I think, no? I asked to be updated about your status. So, technical na lang and then hopefully soon you will be accredited already. Yung board also has something to do with capacity building kasi nga, sabi ko, there's a committee that trains people. Yung parang ganun. Right? Next. Policy guidance also is part of it. Creating an ethical culture, advocating for research integrity. So ito yung overall board, no, policy making. Sige. How is that related to the National Ethics Committee? Ito yung parang national governance, yung structure, no? So as you can see at the top, nandun yung FREB, Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. So dun sa pinaka-left side, sorry I can't point kasi hindi ko device ito, no? You can see there the National Ethics Committee. No? I hope you can see that. Kasi yung FREB nga, yung nag-create ng National Ethics Committee. May history din ito, I'll show you in a little while, na reactivate lang actually. And then there is these other committees, no, boards and RECs, iba-iba ito. No? Pero kayo, I would think, papasok kayo dun sa pinaka-rightmost institutional research ethics committees kasi academic institution ng UP Diliman. Yan. So parang magka-level tayo, no? National Ethics Committee, UP Diliman Research Ethics Committee or however you might eventually call it. Next. So again, sabi ko nga, I'll be talking about our committee, yung National Ethics Committee. Just to parang illustrate some practices, some infrastructure that we have to allow us, no, to allow us to do our function and responsibilities. I need to disclaim then, no, hindi naman sila perfect ang National Ethics Committee. In fact, over the years, we've been evolving, trying to improve, etc., etc. No? So please don't mistake na I'm citing National Ethics Committee. It's not self-serving. In no way is it self-serving. Gusto ko lang ma-share yung aming experience, both yung maganda at saka yung problematic. Yung ganun. Sige, next. So again, it was created way back, 1984 pa, no? Yung PCHRD. Yung first chairman namin, taga-UST pa nga, ay hindi ko na siya inabutan kasi nag-aaral pa ako ng medisina noon. Okay. Again, ang mandate is to ensure research conforms with ethical standards. Right? Itong promote ERCs nationwide, just to parang example lang, and maybe more of coordinate with other RECs. Kasi sometimes ito nga no, we are consulted on how we can help other thriving RECs to improve themselves. In fact, gusto ko ring by way of ano lang naman no, kahit nagtatagal. Merong isang taga Palawan, mga taga Palawan, gusto nilang magtayo ng ng kanilang Research Ethics Committee doon sa lugar nila. Sabi nila, pwede ba kaming mag-benchmark with you? Sabi nila sa amin. Bagong term ang benchmark eh. No? So ako medyo luma na kasi benchmark pala is gusto nilang pumunta sa office namin, makita paano kami gumagawa ng aming trabaho, no? Yung gano'n, observe, etc. So that's one way that we can, promote RECs nationwide. We accept that kind of, And then, of course, wala namang fee yun. No? Dumalaw lang sila doon, no? Kinausap lang kami, tinignan paano kami nagtatrabaho, etc. Right, so that's one. Next. Ito lang yung historical evolution. Not very, i-detail pa natin ito. Ang pinaka-highlight is, if you can see lang in the slide, yung 2013. In 2013, for a while kasi naging dormant yung NEC. And then in 2013, it was reactivated through a special order ng, again, PCHRD. So we've been active since 2013 and marami nang naging chairman na nauna sa akin and then sabi nila, oh, ikaw naman magtrabaho. Ganun. So sabi ko, oh, sige, okay. Ganun. Alright. Next. What is the mandate? Ano bang pinapagawa sa amin? Primarily, again, yung first two hinighlight ko no, among the many mandates. Safeguard the rights, dignity, and welfare of participants. That is the parang cornerstone of research ethics. Eh. Participants, kailangan sila yung pinaka-importante, etc. Ano, yung ganun. So again, review, sa amin kasi sa National Ethics Committee, no, usually the researches that we accept that are brought to us are those researches whose researchers, yung mga researchers na walang affiliated institution na may REC na accredited. In other words, yung mga nasa laylayan. Kasi kunyari, faculty ng Diliman, kunyari si Robert, no? Si Robert, hello Robert. Robert is a new member of our National Ethics Committee. Yan. Kunyari lang, a faculty member of an institution, and that institution has no accredited ethics committee pa lang. No? So, paano na siya? Paano na yung research niya, etc. Pupunta siya sa amin, right? So, yun ang pinaka-basic requirement for us to accept yung kanyang application. Kasi wala siyang ibang mapupuntahan. Yun, essentially ganun. And then there are other minor, kumbaga I classify them as minor requirements. No? So kunyari, nationwide yung scope ng kanyang study. Not necessarily nationwide lagi, no? Yung ganun. Kasi nga, National Ethics Committee, pero minor na yon sa palagay ko. O kaya yung funding niya is coming from a government institution. Kunyari, LGU, o kaya budget is coming from PCHRD, no, yung DOST, maybe even CHED. Tapos, hindi siya affiliated with an academic institution na may ganon. No? So anyway, gusto ko lang i-clarify yon. That makes us a little unique kasi wala kaming academic institution, wala kaming government institution or hospital institution na directly affiliated kami. No? Kaya nga, yun, nasa laylayan yung mga inaano namin. Okay, so that's our mandate. Next. Ito yung parang organizational structure namin. We have at least 9 members. We have ako chair, may akong vice chair, si Professor Natividad. We have 3 alternates. Isang scientist and non-scientist alternates. And then of course may secretary. When I say alternates, these are already part of our role. Listahan namin of members. Pero hindi sila laging na-assign ng review of protocols. Alternate sila. So kunyari, merong isang, when we call for a meeting, kunyari meeting, para magkaroon ng quorum, kailangan mag-confirm yung regular members. Kung sakali, no? Kunyari, out of 9, kung ang quorum namin is 5, no? 5. Tapos, so far, 4 pa lang ang nagko-confirm. Out abroad or whatever, yung iba. So we call on the alternate members para mabuo yung quorum. Logical lang din naman yan. Pero all of these 3 alternate members have been accredited. No? Ibig sabihin, na-check na yung kanilang credentials, etc. etc. Okay, so yan. And then, very important, I think this is critical for an REC to be functional and thereby accredited, yung secretariat. Secretariat. Ang ibig natin sabihin dito, yung mga, nandito sila. No? So, kunyari, si Flora, si Elaine, etc. Kasi sila yung supposedly full-time nasa committee, hindi aandar yung committee sa palagay ko. No? Walang mangyayari if you don't have a qualified full-time and dedicated secretariat. Yung ganun. I understand that UP Diliman's REC, tinignan ko kasi yung application form ninyo, no? I think we have 158 members that you'd like to incorporate and 8 or 9 secretariat. So that's fine, great, no, for you. And so that's one lang. Kasi yung secretariat nga, critical. They manage the submissions, the meetings, the SOPs, and everything. Kasi tayo, no, yung mga members, faculty tayo nagtuturo tayo. We do our own research. So we cannot dedicate full-time all our effort dun sa ethics committee natin. Kailangan natin ng tulong nitong secretariat. Kaya sabi ko nga, sa palagay ko, hindi aandar ang isang accredited ethics committee kung walang dedicated, hardworking, and knowledgeable secretariat. Yan. So that's one tip na yan ko sa inyo. Sabi ko nga kanina dun sa staff namin, kasi nagtatanong ako sa kanya, ano ba yung ganito, ano ba yung ganyan, di sagot agad sila kasi hindi ko naman alam. No? Sabi ko nga, sana hindi kayo mapirate ng Diliman REC. Kung hindi na kami uubra sa National Ethics Committee. No? Yung ganun. Of course, I'm not implying na yung secretariat nyo at present are not qualified. No? Ang sinasabi ko lang naman, the point is critical ang mga members nyo of your next. I took a picture, no? Tinignan ko yung namin, website namin, and then medyo maliit lang, pasensya na, kinano ko lang, kinlip ko lang, and then I made it into a slide. As you can see, nung bata pa ako, yung picture ko nandun, no? And then all of the other members, yan. I don't know if you're familiar with some of these people. Kunyari, si Dr. Marilyn Canta used to be the registrar of UP Diliman. I know that, no? Nandun siya. Hanggang ngayon, member pa namin siya. The other one, si Dr. Recent addition, no? Si alternate member kasi siya. Si Robert is there, no? Robert is there to the right, bottom right. And one of the newer members, regular member, yung lawyer, no? Attorney Rino Gonzalez is a faculty member of the College of Law. So nagpa-pirate din kami from you, no? Yung mga ganun. Yan. All right, next. So ito yung membership and representation. Very important, no? Multidisciplinary dapat, no? Hindi pwedeng one discipline lang kailangan mo. Kasi the committee will be reviewing researches from many different disciplines. Yan. So, ang ano lang kasi sa amin, dahil National Ethics Committee, meron kaming mga doctor like myself, no? And other members. Kasi now and then, may medical research kaming na-approve, nire-review. Right? So dapat may scientists and non-scientists with gender and generational balance. Ano yung sabihin nung gender and generational balance? Hindi pwedeng puro babae. Ewan ko kung napansin ninyo sa committee namin, madami mga female. Well, ang sinasabi naman, hindi naman kailangan 50-50. At least merong male din. So meron din naman. Yung generational din, hindi pwedeng retired. Pagkakatulad ko. Meron din mga bata. No? Yung ganyan. Pero again, yung point of view ng different sectors will be represented. Now, ano naman yung scientists and non-scientists? Ang ano namin sa scientists is hindi lahat pwedeng master's degree holder, PhD degree holder, no? Ang pinaka non-scientist na namin at the most sana yung level of educational background is at least a BS or a BA degree. Kung sabihin nga namin, preferably nga housewife. Not to demean a housewife, yung ganon. But again, to represent the point of view of yung mga potential participants. Kuminsan kasi yung mga participants natin, researchers, hindi naman nakapagtapos ng college, etc. No? Yung mga ganon. Gusto ko lang ding sabihin, no, yung composition na to. Dapat merong at least isa, no, sa committee na non-affiliated. Anong ibig sabihin ng non-affiliated? Hindi siya empleyado ng UP Diliman, for example. No? Ito yung medyo challenging. How can you ask someone na hindi affiliated with the institution to work for you in your REC? Sa amin, sa National Ethics Committee, we've been fortunate over the years, no, na yung widow ni Dr. Romualdez, our former DOH secretary, which also on alumnus of, siyempre wala na si Sir Romualdez. Yung wife niya, si Ma'am Pichi, has been very willing and active in becoming our member. And in fact, she's been doing this work more than I have been doing it. No? So, swerte talaga kami dan. Sinasabi ko lang ito kasi this is the challenging part. Meron din namang kumbaga, lusot. No? 1 year after retirement from UP Diliman, no, pwede nyo na siyang i-recruit as a non-affiliated member. Alright? So, kunyari, dito ko na ipapasok. No? Paano nyo naman ma-incentivize yung taong yun? No? Non-affiliated. And then, magte-training siya, attend siya ng meeting, magre-review siya ng proposal. Paano na? Ito yung isang sinasabi namin, essential requirement din naman para mabuo and ma-maintain yung integrity ng Ethics Committee. Katulad ng ginagawa namin sa NEC. No? Merong honorarium for being a member. So dito din papasok, no, yung administrative support by the institution. Bigyan kayo ng budget para dun sa mga gastusin ninyo. No? So kunyari, sa amin ay hindi naman yata protected information kasi kami transparent. Kunyari, as a chairman, when I hold a meeting, no, when I attend the meeting, conduct the meeting, I get 6,000 pesos. Every 2 months yon kasi we have meetings every 2 months. Paano na yung members na uma-attend? They get half, 3,000, no, to attend the meeting. Kapag kunyari, yung isang member, inassign ko ng isang study, i-review niya yon, etc. No, yung ganon. They get an additional incentive for that. They get 3,000 again for that. No? So, ito siguro yung sinasabi nating parang incentive, no, for lalo na yung non-affiliated member. No? So, hindi naman pwedeng gratis lang lahat. Unless you do that kasi baka yung kanilang dedication and work, baka ma-compromise. Hindi naman natin sinasabing you make a living out of it. No? Hindi naman. Hindi, kahit papano meron konting pakonsuelo. No? Now, sabihin na lang natin, no, hindi applicable to sa amin, no, sa National Ethics Committee kasi hindi naman kami affiliated with the kunyari, academic institution as an NEC. So, ano yung ibang incentives pa? Kunyari sa inyo, sa UP Diliman, siguro pag member ka ng REC ninyo, maliban dun sa mga honorarium na pwede nyo ibigay within your rules, kumbaga, no? Kunyari, member ka, additional work sa yan, siguro dapat naman i-deload ka as a teacher. So, kunyari, kung 15 units per semester ang regular load mo, baka pag member ka, gawin na lang nilang what, 9 or 6? Para naman yung
Hindi ko
time.
mag-i-assess sila ka-adlaw. Baka ma-adtuan dito ng mga kailangan nasa kagapita. Kasi sa Maria, okay, kailangan, no?
Okay. Sorry,
So,
pamute.
sa
Pamute mo na. Okay. So, isa yon, no? Deloading among the faculty members, at least for you, no? Yung inyong, yung inyong situation, no? Or maybe also points for promotion. Siyempre, faculty tayo, we accumulate points for promotion. Sana isama yon pag naging member ka ng NEC. Yan. So all of those things, no, yung parang ganun. Or siguro ibawasan yung other administrative assignments. Kung member ka na ng REC ng UP Diliman, siguro wag ka nang i-assign sa ibang committees pa. Para again, you can dedicate your time and effort sa Research Ethics Committee. So, I'm belaboring these points lang kasi dahil challenging kung minsan to recruit and keep them into the committee. Dahil kung walang mga ganong perks, kumbaga, mahirap. That can be challenging. Okay? So, again, there's a process for making sure that the committee has the necessary members. So, yung nomination, their CV, and acceptance letters. I will briefly mention those again in the SOPs that I included in this particular presentation. And of course, kami, no, in-appoint kami ng executive director ng PCHRD kasi directly na under PCHRD kami. Okay? So, first, sa Diliman, siguro, Vice President for Research or Research Ethics. Sorry, hindi ko kabisado yung buong structural setup, no? Pero, again, it must be someone who will appoint you, no? Dun sa, with terms of reference, etc., etc. Next. Ayan, ito yon, no? Appointment paper. So, kami sa NEC, meron kaming Form 19. I'll show that in a little while. It's a nomination form. So, kunyari, si Robert, before, dinominate namin siya kasi nirecommend siya ng isa naming member. No, si Marlene, sabi niya si Robert. No? So, may pro forma na kami na nomination form. Right? Pinil up na lang namin yung blank, so, etc. And then we asked for his curriculum vitae, yung Form 20. And then we issued an invitation letter to Professor Robert, no? Form 21 yon. May conforme siya doon. No? And then he had to fill up yung Forms 1 and 2. Ito yung confidentiality and conflict of interest disclosures. Yun yung... yung ibang member, tinatanong ng wife ko, ano daw yun? Yung ibang members naka-on yung, mami, yung kanilang microphone. So anyway, I was saying Form 1 and 2, nung ninominate namin, in-invite namin si Robert, finill up niya yun, no? Promising to comply with confidentiality and disclosure, conflict of interest disclosures, yan, ganun. And then, a special order by the executive director was made, no, yung appointment niya, nakalagay doon, and then pwede niyang itago yon to show, kunyari, UP Diliman, member na ako ng NEC, no, yung gano'n. Dapat, huwag niyo akong bigyan ng masyadong trabaho, etc. No, yung gano'n. Points for promotion, no, yung mga gano'n. And then, of course, kasama na sa CV niya. And then, of course, yung, kasama yung duties, responsibilities, and again, a full disclosure nga kasi, transparency, nakalagay doon yung honorarium marireceive mo, etc. So, important, I'm almost sure you have all of this already. No? If not, maybe you can pattern it that way para malinaw lahat. No? Elaine, go ahead. Let me check my connection. I'm not sure kung nawala ako. Mukhang hindi naman. Elaine, can you show the next slide, please? Okay. Duties and responsibilities, very important din ito, no? So, dun sa appointment papers namin lahat, sa NEC, sinabi sa amin, ito yung dapat mong gawin. Attend meetings, ma-assign ka ng protocol, you have to review them, and then present them either during a meeting or through the portal, which I'll discuss later. And then, kapag in-assign sa yung isang study, you have to be the one responsible in monitoring it. Of course, depende kung full board, lahat responsible, no? Right? Ensure clarity and cultural sensitivity of the informed consent. Buong committee yon, no? And then declare conflicts of interest and maintain confidentiality. A few things lang about conflict of interest. No? Siyempre, member ka ng committee, faculty ka rin, gumagawa ka ng research, pwede ba yun? Di ba? So, di siguro kung research mo mismo, pinapa-approve mo, kunyari sa amin, tsaka sa inyo, of course, papa-approve, papa-review and approve mo sa Diliman REC, sa'yo mismo yon, and then member ka ng committee, paano yun? Di ba? So, conflict of interest yon. So, pwede naman, sasabihin lang naman during the evaluation of your application, hindi ka kasama dun sa the process, no? So, minsan lalabas, etc. So, dapat merong mechanism to address possible conflicts of interest. Kung minsan, hindi lang, you can understand naman, no, what conflicts of interest are. Kunyari, yung asawa mo, siya yung member ka ng committee, yung asawa mo yung nag-submit ng proposal, i-evaluate. Di ba? So, paano? Siguro, kung mabait ka sa asawa mo, sabihin mo, pag hindi yan nag-declare ng conflict of interest, pag nag-participate sa discussion, approve agad yung ng asawa niya, no? Kasi either takot siya sa asawa niya or whatever, yung ganun. O kaya naman, baka galit ka sa asawa mo, nainis ka sa kanya, pinahirapan mo siya, no? Yung ganun. So yung mga ganung types na they have to be resolved. Either you declare lang, preferably you excuse yourself, no? Pag merong ganung perception of possible conflict. Why is that important? Para hindi pagdudaan ng ibang tao kung ano man yung decision ng committee about that application. Kasi di ba, pag sinabing, uy, approve agad, ay kasi nandun yung asawa niya, etc. Uy, pinahirapan, na-reject. Kasi karibal niya yon, no, sa department. No, kagalit niya yan, no, yung mga ganun. So, damay yung buong committee, no, pag ganun. Okay, and the other part is, unfortunately, kahit member ka na, at least once a year, merong, katulad kami, no? Nagle-lecture na nga. At least once a year, that kami sa NEC, no? We have to attend a continuing ethics education and show the, the certificate that we did that para continuous yung aming accreditation. So that's part of the requirement. Next. So some key takeaways lang, no? So NEC, the cornerstone is ethical governance in research. It must be independent. Hindi ko masyadong na ano itong independent, no? Yung REC kailangan must prove independence. So papakita yung organogram, etc. Independence in what what do we mean? Sa mga decision ng REC, kami for example, kahit yung executive director ng PCHRD, kahit pa yung secretary of DOST, hindi niya pwedeng sabihin sa amin, no, uy, i-approve nyo na yan. No? O bakit hindi nyo in-approve ito? Wala siyang pakialam at call sa mga decisions namin. In that sense, independent kami. So dapat all RECs ganyan. No? Yan. Pero hindi kami independent when we need money. No? When we need money, when we need the office, when we need the staff, no, yung yano sa amin. So independent in their decisions. Again, nabanggit na natin tong iba dito, ano, right? Okay, sige. So these are the key takeaways. So yun po yung NE. Next slide, please. Let me mention a little bit about UPMREB, yung UP Manila Research Ethics Board. Kasi sabi ko nga at the start of our, I need to be aware of my time. UPMREB, UP Manila to, no? Paano na? So kunyari, sa amin sa National Ethics Committee, medyo limited yung scope ng tinatanggap namin. Kunyari kayo sa UP Diliman, kadami-daming colleges, kadami-daming types of researches, no? Paano na? How will you manage it? Gusto ko lang mention a little bit about UP Manila. And I think you've already medyo patterned it after them. Kung hindi man pattern, siguro naisip nyo na lang, siguro dapat marami tayong tawag namin panel. So, UPMREB is the Research Ethics Committee of UP Manila. No? It is accredited not only by FREB, but even by foreign accreditors. Yung ganon. So they review all proposals in the UP Manila, all the colleges, institutes, and even Philippine General Hospital. So you can imagine then, just like in UP Diliman, napakadami nitong mga to. Paano nila kinaya ito? No? Ang ginawa nila, tinawag nilang UPMREB, no? Central REC siya. Right? Central. And then, marami silang panels ang tinatawag. They have at least 6 panels. No? Each panel functions as an parang independent REC. And each panel, meron siyang scope lang. So, kunyari, panel 1 will accept research proposals only for faculty members of these colleges, for example. No? Kunyari, yung mga estudyante, saan sila magsasubmit? Kunyari, undergrad. Magsasubmit siguro sila sa panel 3, panel 4, etc. So, merong division of labor. Right? Next, please. So, multiple review panels, ito yung sinasabi ko. Then each panel functions with equal authority. Pag in-approve na ng panel 1, approve na yan ng UPMREB. Ministerial na lang yan. And then each panel, again, kompleto siya. No? Constituted siya, meron siyang non-scientist, meron siyang non-affiliated, etc. etc. So, this is unique sa UP Manila. Kasi nga, nandun yung PGH, pati yung volume. So, kunyari, yung mga doktor sa PGH, kadami-dami niyan. Each one of those doctors, each one is required to submit a research before mag-graduate siya. So, kadami-dami ulit niyan. Again, division of labor, panel 3, panel 4, etc. No? Right? So, I think this is also what you did. Okay? Ang sabi nga sa akin, when you applied for level 1, you're applying for level 1, 158 members. So sabi ko, siguro dinivide na nila sa ganito. There's a way of parang division of labor already. Yeah. Which is good. Next. Ito yung, medyo yung organizational structure ng UP Manila Ethics Board under the Chancellor, Vice Chancellor for Research, etc. down the line. Tapos meron silang director for RMB. Before I was that director. And then may chair of UP Manila Research Ethics Board. And sa baba na lang, kung titignan mo, may panel 1, panel 2, 3, 4. And then yung panel 5, may A, B, C, D pa, no? Yung mga ganon. So this is how they yung ganon. Siguro meron din kayong ganito, although I have not seen it yet. Okay, so division of labor. Okay, next. Okay, balik tayo sa National Ethics Committees. Critical, no? Critical sa amin, the way we do things, meron kaming standard operating procedures. And I'll just show you the list and some few examples lang kasi we might run out of time. So, next. So, kunyari, SOP. So, these are administrative SOPs. So, ito yung ginagamit ng mga staff namin, how to manage documents, meetings, how to take minutes, etc. So, yung mga SOPs, these are step-by-step guidelines. No? Ano yung step na gagawin? Sinong responsible for it? And ano yung corresponding forms or documents related to that step. Right? I'm sure you have this already kasi sinabit nyo na yata sa ano. Again, we are guided by this. And the key is, pag ginawa nyo yung SOPs ninyo, dapat yun yung tailored fit sa inyo. No? Ganon din kasi kami sa National Ethics Committee. May pagka-commonality with others, but again, dapat para sa amin lang yon. Dapat kaya naming sundin yung SOP namin. Kasi pag bina-violate namin yung mismong SOP namin, palitan mo yung SOP mo, hindi mo pala kaya sundin no? Yung ganon. Besides, if you don't abide by your SOPs, makikita ng accreditors yun when you submit yung mga documents ninyo. And then sasabihin, uy, SOP nyo, ba't hindi nyo nasusunod? Etc. Yun. So the other SOPs, next please. Marami pang iba. Dun sa merong mandatory SOPs. Ito yung mga yon. Are examples. No? Lahat ito, kailangan meron. Pwede nyo pandagdagan, again, depending on your situation, your requirements, etc. Right? So this is, kung minsan, madalas, ito yung stumbling block to accreditation. Meron nga silang SOPs kasi meron na kaming workbook on SOPs, parang fill in the blanks na lang. Kaya lang hindi pala angkop talaga dun sa institution. So they cannot follow, they cannot abide by their written SOPs. Parang in paper lang, hindi naman pala kaya. And then that is the cause of several instances na yung Committee on Accreditation sasabihin nila, may observation dito, hindi nyo nasusunod, etc. Explain this and then yung ganun. Okay, next. So, last na lang, no? And then I'll skip many of my other slides to illustrate the SOPs kasi nagtatagal tayo. This is the FREP. Ano yung FREP? Philippine Health Research Ethics Portal. What is it? Next. So I'm not sure if you have this portal yet, no? It's an online platform for ethics review. Online. Wala na kaming paper submissions sa National Ethics Committee. We use the portal. It's a centralized submission and tracking of research proposals. No? Pati yung accreditation, ginagamit din ng CSA ito. All the documents that you submit to FREB, no? FREB, whether it's training, whether it's accreditation, etc. Pati kami sa National Ethics Committee, we use the portal. Okay? So we put there all our SOPs, the forms, the guidelines, etc. So that pag may nag-apply sa amin, no? Pag may nag-apply sa amin for ethics review ng kanilang proposal, they have to go to the portal. Doon nila isasubmit lahat. And then doon namin tatrabauhin din lahat. Right? So, again, sorry, I'm not sure if you have this already. But again, it's not necessary that you have a portal. It just makes things more efficient, more transparent, etc., etc. And then wala nang papel. Wala nang papel. Next. Ito yung example lang ng portal namin. I took a picture. Sorry, medyo maliit lang. No? So, this is the National Repository. So, kunyari, ako as chair, sinabihan ako, no? Doc Butch, merong bagong application. Complete na yung documents niya. So, punta ka sa portal, sabihin sa akin, punta ka sa portal, tignan mo na kung paano ito, no? Anong gagawin natin dito. Alright? So, merong username, merong password, etc. That is unique to me. So, yung ganon. Etc. So, this is the portal. Next. So again, it's a centralized portal for online submission and tracking. Pati yung accreditation po ninyo nandun sa portal, no? So we were able to check kung ano yung deficiency ninyo, no? After this meeting, I was asked to remain and then talk about kung ano ba yung glitch dun sa accreditation process ninyo. We'll talk about that with the committee members later. So again, this is the portal. Very useful siya. But again, sa mga katulad ko, I had to learn and how to use it kasi hindi naman ako talaga tech person. But slowly, I'm beginning to get used to it. So kayo siguro, in your instance, kung meron man kayo nito, again, sorry if take some learning, no? So again, but very useful. Next. So repository of resources, makita nyo lahat doon ng forms, lahat ng guidelines, etc. No? Okay. And again, it serves for transparency and efficiency kasi naka-record lahat doon yung mga nangyayari. Pag sinabit nila sa amin, alam namin kailan submit, ano yung sinabmit, etc. Kailan namin sila sinagot, nandun din. No? Hindi pwedeng sabihin, hindi nyo pinapansin yung ano namin, etc. etc. Okay? Next. So, these are, last na lang po talaga, no? I'll breeze through many of these slides kasi example lang ng paggamit ng portal, basically, no? So, these are the steps that we take. And I'm sure you have an idea of this also. Okay, next, please. So, essentially, ito yung stages of ethical review. This is a summary of it all. If you've attended some of our workshops in SIDTA, you've seen this slide already. So, sorry, hindi ko ma-point. Doon sa bandang taas, no? The review process starts with yung bandang taas, ito yung ginagawa ng researcher. Okay? Yun sa baba, ito yung ginagawa namin sa National Ethics Committee. So, kunyari, ganun din. No? So, kunyari, initial submission, sasubmit lahat ng requirements through our portal. And then, I make a preliminary evaluation as chairman. Kapag, kunyari, okay na yun, what I do is, what type of review? Exempt, expedited, then full board. Depende sa guidelines that are already written down, right? And then I assign kung sino yung magre-review, assign reviewers, right? And then they do the initial review hanggang ma-approve. Kuminsan pabalik-balik yan, no? Kasi may modification pa. Once approved, you see that arrow, they can only start their study once the letter of approval is released. Kaya nga hindi sila magkatapat. Right? And then, all throughout the study, no, hindi yung porke na-approve at the start, tapos na, no? Hindi. The ethics committee kami, no, we require the researcher to submit progress reports. Ito yung mga post-approval reports. Iba-iba yan. May progress report, adverse event report, etc. etc. Marami yan. And then each submission, we review and approve. Then, kunyari, yung study, na-approve namin siya. Usually, 1 year lang lagi, no? Kahit na 3 years pa yung study. Each initial approval, 1 year lang lagi. No? And then, kunyari, tapos na yung 1 year na yon, end date of clearance ang tawag doon. No? They have to submit an application for continuing review. Parang, tuloy mo pa, no? Again, we do that. Kunyari, they've been religious in submitting their reports. Wala namang any observations that may require either suspension or termination. Continuing review, laging ganon, hanggang matapos yung study. Pag end of study na, they submit a final report. And then yung final report na yan, meron din siyang, kumbaga, format. No? Ito ba yung requirements for a formal report? Ano yung contents? Yung final report na yan, hindi naman yung manuscript of the study. Okay, so I'll show you quickly lang again later on ano yung itsura ng final report. And then, pag sinabi yung final report, okay na sa amin, sa baba, and then we say, okay, final report, we will now archive your study, tapos na, no, huwag na tayong mag-usap, bahala ka na, no, yung ganun. So these are the different stages. Okay? Next. Sorry, tatagal. So ito yon, no? Initial submission, yung triage and initial review sa chairman ko yun. And then I assign the, mag-evaluate sila. And then we deliberate, no, kung full board review in a meeting. And then we decide. And then we approve. Kunyari, approve na. We monitor until matapos. Okay? Next. Ito yung SOPs namin. No? These are just examples of our SOPs. Again, I've shown you a list already of all of these. So these are public documents. No? Kunyari, you go to our portal, you can see all of these. So that you are guided. No? Yung mga researchers namin, they are guided. Ano ba ginagawa nitong mga to? Ano yung form na kailangan nilang i-fill up? No? Yung mga ganon. So kunyari, itong form na to, download mo to and then lagay mo yung title of your study, etc., etc. And then submit mo. Okay? Next. Ayan, part of that, no? Ito yung lahat ng details na hihingin namin sa kanila. Notice, gusto ko lang i-highlight ito. Type of study. Sorry, maliit, no? Type of study. Iba-iba ito, no? The types of studies that we accept can include all of these. Can include all of this. And next. Ayan, and then again, kailangan nakalagay ito lahat. Ito yung requirement na when you apply, etc. And then, pag kompleto na yan, we accept the study. Next. Again, kasama lahat ito, no? So basic requirements. So kailangan kompleto yan. Pag hindi kompleto, sinubmit niya, pinost niya, hindi pa namin tatanggapin. Hindi pa siya officially nasa portal. Kung kompleto lang siya, dun matatag na, okay, complete, papasa na siya sa amin. And then, ipaprocess na. Okay. So, ito yung triage. Ginawa ko lang ito, no? So, I do this using a checklist, and then I determine what type of review, and then I assign the reviewers. Again, this is part of our SOP. Depende sa inyo kung gusto nyo palitan. Right? Next. What are the types of review? Pwedeng exempt from review. Now, gusto ko lang yan to, no? I would imagine in UP Diliman, many of the studies that will be submitted will be classified as exempt. Ano itong mga exempt? For minimal risk studies, kunyari educational, anonymized datasets, publicly available datasets, no, yung mga ganito. Kasi anyway, public domain na siya. So siguro wala nang issues dyan, no, yung ganon. This is done at the level of the chair. No? Kunyari, may nagtanong sa akin, ewan ko saan magtatanong pa. Kunyari, College of Arts, may gusto siyang gawing study. Kailangan pa ba ng ethical review yan? Titignan pa rin ng committee, no? Sabihin nila siguro, wala namang involved yung dito. Human participants, whether directly or indirectly. So sabihin sila, exempt na yan. And then they issue an exemption. Then, kung ano man yung ginawa niyang research on arts, siguro sabihin niya, pwede ko na itong i-publish kasi may certificate na from UP Diliman REC. No? Kunyari sa amin din. No? National Ethics Committee, ni-review and exempt kami. Ito, sige. So, pwede ko nang i-publish, pwede ko nang i-share. Yung mga ganun. Or pwedeng expedited, full board, no? Merong requirements for all of this. And I'm sure you have this also. Right? And then we always use assessment forms when we do our work. These are all in our SOPs. Next. Ayan, so kunyari, checklist for exemption for review. Di ba? So kunyari, sinasabi pa nila, artwork. Siguro pag sinabi kong yes, lahat ito, exempted na. Next. So again, part of the exemption review. So sasabihin, exempted. Hindi pwedeng exempt. Expedited to, dapat or full board. No? Okay, next. So again, we're always guided by all of this. And then, pag sinabi kong exempted, we issue this letter. Meron na kaming pro forma letter. Form 15C, for example, this one. Then we date, then and then we say, oh, exempted ka na using this template. So dapat maganda sana kung may ganito. Para hindi every study na lang meron kayong magko-compose pa kayo, no, yung mga ganyan. Pro forma na sila. Fill in the blanks na. Next. Again, part of the exemption to. Next, please. So we'll just breeze through this, no? And then yung reviewer's worksheet, meron din kaming forma SOP nito. So kanyari, akong nagre-review sa ethics committee, no? Ano yung guide ko? So for example, I'll use this. Kanyari, does the study have social value? No? Pag no, usually comment ako, no? Oh, ito, etc., etc. So again, rejected kagad yan pag walang social value. In other words, we use a checklist. Worksheet ang tawag namin. Next. Ayan, so part of that, no? And then next please, just breeze through them. And then, okay, may checklist kami. Next. And then we summarize the findings. And then next, the decision. Right? So, approve as is, no? Walang modification. Or minor, major, or disapprove. No? And so on. So, let's just breeze through the others. And then, just to illustrate the point, na meron din namang within the committee sa amin, guidelines on how we do our work. Next. Sige na, okay, decision letter na to. Dinagdag ko lang ito kagabi, no? Kasi I wanted to, ano lang, how do we do our work? No? And again, kayo siguro when you have all of this is what you're going to do. Or something similar. Next. Ito yung informed consent naman. No? The informed consent is the next most important document aside from the protocol, yung proposal. So again, may checklist kami on how to evaluate checklist. Usually sa amin po, sa National Ethics Committee, ang main, not only but the main one who does the informed consent assessment is the non-scientist or the non-affiliated member. Kasi gusto nating malaman, yun bang consent form mo in Tagalog or English or ano, understandable ba yan? Maintindihan ba ng common participant yan? So at the level of the non-affiliated member or the non-scientist member, usually ito yung main trabaho niya. It's not the only one, but again, ito yon. Kasi kung understandable sa kanya yon, lahat ng nakasulat doon, chances are yung participant will also understand. Okay, next. Ayan, so informed consent, etc. No, next. And then yon, same, approve, revisions, or disapprove. Next. Final report. Ito yung sabi kong final report. No? So, yung final report, sabi ko nga, pagtapos na, hindi siya yung manuscript mismo, yung makapal. Pero meron lang items na hinahanap kami sa final report niya to be filled up. So ito yung guided by this form, yung pag-submit. Okay? Then sasubmit niya lahat, accomplishing using this form, sasubmit niya sa portal, and then decisions. Go ahead, next. Ayan, yung decision. Okay? Sige, next. Siguro last 2 slides na lang. So there are many other forms na sinasabi ko. Merong technical, merong administrative. We've listed them already in the previous slide. No? Next, please. So, and then, finally, talagang gusto ko lang pakita sa inyo yung ginawa namin last year. No? And you will be required to prepare similar reports of what you did previously. Alam ko, nag-a-apply pa lang kayo, no? Level 1. Yung level 1 kasi, 6 months. Bibigyan kayo ng, sige, we will give you 6 months to do your work. And then during those 6 months, you need to come up with a summary of your accomplishments during those 6 months. And then you submit it to us, sasabihin ng accreditation committee. We will review those. And this will be the basis of whether we will approve you as level 2 or maybe level 1 pa rin, etc. Okay? So, just as an example lang, no, of what is expected of you, of what we do. So, ito yung accomplishment report in 2024, no? Nakalagay lahat yan, etc. No? Next. Ayan, so ito yung account namin. We had this number of studies, biomedical, etc. broken down into this. Madali lang namang yan na to kasi nandun na sa application form nila eh. Ganun. Next. And then, funding source, kasi nakalagay din dun sa application form, self-funded ba yan or international or local, etc. Next. And then, ito yung mga decisions namin, no, yung gano'n, based on the 2024, all of those. No, so, this is part lang, no? Hindi pa ito yung all of it. Kasi you will be required, nag-a-apply kayo ng level 1, you will be required to submit at least three proposals or three studies that you reviewed. And then titignan ulit ng accreditation committee. So, hindi, at least sa amin, no, I would suspect mas complicated pa sa inyo sa Diliman yung experience niya kasi mas broader yung inyong coverage. No? Kami medyo limited and yet we try to do it. And with the help of a competent and diligent staff, we are able to do this. Next. Last na yata to. Again, summarize lang, these are the elements of ethical research. No? Sana wag nating masamain yung number 8. Merong ethics approval and adherence to provisions of many of our laws. I think that's it. Okay, review, sabi na nga natin, this research ethics review is systematic, fair, and transparent. It ensures scientific and ethical acceptability of a research, makes it credible and worthy. So, we must view the research process as a learning experience. No? Kami sa National Ethics Committee, we try to help the researcher improve his work, no? His or her work. Halos wala kaming outright disapprove. Halos wala. I don't remember any instance over the past years now. Outright disapprove yan. We always try to make it more acceptable. So, benefit. Sorry, nagtagal. I'll stop now. Dami ko na sinabi. Currently, maulan. So, hindi ganyan ang itsura ng harap ng PGH. Baha. Baha dun sa amin. Kaya yung iba hindi nakapasok. Thank you again for the opportunity. Sorry, medyo nagtagal po. I'll try to entertain questions if we still have.
Thank you, Doc Manalastas, no? Napaka-light lang actually ng discussion pero napaka-informative din niya. Sir, we have actually some questions already nasa Q&A tab natin dito sa Zoom. I'll read the first one po, no? What can you suggest for the institution REC having difficulty with the accreditation process? Like, should they focus on the SOP alone or collaborate with another institution just to be guided on what to do? Thank you.
Okay. So as I mentioned po kanina, if you recall, no, many times yung stumbling block, yung SOP, no? Meron kaming special training sa SIDTA, no, yung isang committee ko, SOP training. Pero meron din naman kaming handbook on SOP preparation. Very friendly yon, no? Sometimes you just have to look at the different SOPs. Pag sinabing, applicable ito sa amin, magagamit namin ito. Kunin nyo na yon and then you just fill in the blanks. So, kanyari, ano yung pangalan ninyo, etc., etc., sino yung members, etc. Right? The key, I think, if you adopt an SOP, whether you modified it from the handbook or not, no, kailangan you must demonstrate your ability to abide by it. Kasi step by step yun eh. Kung may step doon na hindi applicable sa inyo, palitan ninyo, kaya huwag niyong isama, no? Yung mga etc. Ito pa, no? Nabanggit po yata, if you recall, merong nag-benchmarking with us, yung mga galing Palawan. They visited us, tinignan nila kung paano namin ginagawa yung trabaho namin sa office. So, kasi tinatanong, should we collaborate with other institutions? I guess that's one way of collaborating, no? If you want to learn about the standard operating procedures, the daily work of an REC, para pag nag-submit sila ng application, tanggap, and then when they finally, yung level 1 po kasi is a parang probational accreditation. They give you 6 months to work, no? Use your SOP in that 6 months. Kapag you are able to prove dun sa 6 months na yon through, again, submissions of your work, no? How you follow your SOP. Sasabihin ng accreditation committee, pasado na kayo, nasusunod niyo yung SOPs ninyo, no? Etc. No? And then sabihin nila, sige, level 2 na kayo. Either 1 year, level 2, or 3 years, level 2, etc. Depending on your performance. So yes po, you can collaborate, and dahil ginawa na rin naman namin sa National Ethics Committee, just in case you want to visit us, just schedule it with us. And then we'll be happy to host you there, pakita how we do things, etc. Right. There's this other question. I can just read it naman. I see it naman. With the advent of AI, can we use AI in our literature reviews? Yes, but there are guidelines about the use of AI. You still have to check them. And you need transparency then. Is it already acceptable at the REB? Yes. Are there REB policies on the use of AI in research? Yes. Inaano po namin, full disclosure, and then we require that they identify the way they commanded the AI, and of course, which AI. No, yung ganun. Is it possible po na if ever in cases we reanalyze the result, tapos po nakapag-submit na kami ng final report, can we revise it pa? Reanalyze data? It has not happened in our experience in National Ethics Committee, but I suppose it is possible, no? To request for a resubmission even of the final. Kasi pag inano na namin yung final report, naka-archive na yun eh. Inactive na. I guess you can still request, no, that in the National Ethics Committee, we review it again, especially the reanalysis. So I suppose it has not happened yet, but I think it is possible. From Garnet May, good day. Our college putting up our REC. May I ask if we need to implement first our established SOPs so that we can, so that we can implement, so that we can apply for accreditation, or is it the other way around? Accreditation first, then implementation. Ang process is, I don't know which college is this. I suppose it's also in UP Diliman. Teka. Sorry, hindi ko, you need to inform me. UP Diliman is putting up parang central REC, I suppose, no? And then merong panels, ganun ba? But I do know, yung School of Home Economics, accredited na sila, yung kanilang REC, nauna sila, no? Sa among the colleges. If you're going to, can I, wala na yung tanong. You need SOPs muna before you can apply for accreditation. It's one of the required documents that you have to, So kunyari, you have your SOPs na, no? Which kunyari, you copied lang from the handbook. And then sabihin nila, okay, sige. So you will be given 6 months to try your SOPs. Work on your SOP. Gamitin nyo na sila. And then during those 6 months, you will be required to submit, no, yung mga trabaho din yung ginawa na. Kunyari, minutes of the meeting, how you reviewed the protocols during that time. Kasi pag complete na yung documents ninyong sinubmit, no, at maayos naman yung lahat ng documents, yung kompleto, kunyari CV, training certificates, kompleto yung SOPs ninyo, sasabihin ng accreditation, sige, accredited kayo, level 1, probationary for 6 months. That's when you can do your work already. And then, depending on the quality of the work that you did during those 6 months, kasi magsasubmit ulit kayo ng accomplishment report during those 6 months, yung accreditation committee will assess that. And then, depende sa kanila, sabihin nila, okay na to. Sige, level 2 na kayo for 1 year, maybe even 2 or 3 years, level 2 na, depending on the quality again. So, that's how it is. Hindi pwedeng mag-review muna kayo na wala pa kayong level 1 accreditation. Pwede po ba niyo yun? Probationary yung first 6 months of a level 1. Okay, kaya lang you have to submit all the required documents. Okay, our institution doesn't have an REC yet. Can we submit our proposal directly to NEC? Yes. Yes, you can.
Doc, meron pong isa pong question.
Ah,
It's on
yes.
it's on the screen. Ito po. A
Uh,
doctoral student from
wait.
London.
Sorry, I'll
Okay po.
close the chat, the Q&A. Doctoral
Sige po.
student is requesting to conduct her study in our university with our institution as one of the research sites. She already has ethics approval from her and the UP and from UPM Reb. UP Reb. Which UP Reb yun? Do we still need to provide a separate ethics approval for you? Ito yung depende sa policy ninyo sa Diliman. Okay? This is the policy, this is where the institution, UP Diliman, can impose its own policies. So, kunyari, na-approve na sa UK, no? Approvean pa ba dito? Usually, yes. Usually, yes. Hindi ko lang alam kung ano po itong UP Reb. Kasi sinabi, ethics approval from our home university and from UP Reb. Is that Diliman Reb? Sorry, hindi po masyadong anong ibig niyo sabihin sa UP Reb. Do we still need to provide separate ethics from our university? Which university is that? No? Paki-clarify na lang po. Ganito na lang. If yung UP Reb that you're saying there is UP Diliman Reb, which I doubt kasi hindi pa accredited. And what is the other university? Kasi po sa amin, kunyari sa National Ethics Committee, I can speak for that. No? Na-approve na sa UK. And then gustong gawin dito sa Pilipinas nung PhD student ng ano doon. Kailangan pa rin namin i-review. In fact, yung UK, no, yung UK mismo sasabihin nila, if you're going to conduct that abroad, you have to comply with the policy of the either country or university where you're going to use it. And then dito mag-kick in yung policies of the university that you're talking about, whether it's from our university, Diliman ba yan, or UP Reb, etc. So I
Yung
suspect...
UP Reb daw, Doc, is supposedly UP Manila. UP Manila na Reb.
And then, which is the other university?
Yung other university supposedly nasa London po.
No, nakalagay, do we still need to provide separate from our university?
Okay.
The London? Kasi, you know, dapat nauna yung London University. So, we need to clarify the question.
Sige po.
Are we talking here about 3 institutions? Yung London, UPM Reb, and another university? Kasi kung another university yon, no? Another university, depende sa policy ng university ng, kunyari, St. Louis University. No? Taga doon yung proponent. And then gagamitin din niya doon, gagawin din niya doon. No? Kasi nilagay niya, to conduct her study in our university. So kunyari, St. Louis yon. Ano ba ang policy ng St. Louis? Yung kanilang REC doon. No? Kunyari, basta gagawin mo dito, kahit pumasa na yan sa London, kahit pinasa na yan ng UPM Reb, titignan pa rin namin yan. No, yung mga ganun. So that's the way I would, this one.
Sige po. May next question po sa screen din, Doc.
Screen, where can we find the copy of board roles and responsibilities po? Copy of the TOR? Salamat po. Yes. Paano ba? You can go to our portal and then ask permission to access these different documents, no, including sample copies of the terms of references in appointing members. Again, these are not kumbaga, ano lang sila pro forma documents. Wala namang specific names and then fill in the blanks lang sila. Okay, so kunyari, ano lang is National Ethics Committee, siyempre, medyo tailor fit sa amin yun, no, if you get examples of that. Yeah.
Sige po. May next question din po.
If I don't want to submit to our institutional REC because their review takes a long time, can I apply to... No, you cannot accept it kasi you have your own. If a study involves interview or FGT only, does it need record? Yes. Yes, kung kahit interview lang or focus group discussion kasi you're interacting with humans no, yung ganon. So the way you ask your question, uh, in fact, the topic of your question can be a sensitive topic, and then the way you will kunyari confidentiality, privacy issues, no, yung ganon. So yes, the first part is can apply to next. Sorry, no. The other one is yes. You still have to get approval.
Okay. Next question po tayo.
We are preparing for level 1. Ano po kayang LUC or SUC ang pwede ma-benchmark? Sorry, the level namin ng NEC, yun lang ang alam ko, no? Kasi we've done it before, no? If you want, you look for a friendly university nearby na may accredited REC na, preferably level 2 or even level 3. And that's when you can ask permission, to visit them and benchmark with them. But if you're willing to come and visit us, no? Kasi level 2 lang kami, no? Hindi naman kami level 3 yung mga clinical trials. You're of course welcome to do that. And you can do that through our portal, no? Yung go to our portal and then make inquiries doon and schedule a benchmarking with us. Your alternatives, of course, are your nearby friendly SUCs.
Sige po. May next question po. Need po ba na mag-offer ng graduate courses ang school bago magpa-accredit for level 1 po?
No. In fact, medyo controversial lang ito, no? Yung undergrad na mga schools, no? Hindi lang kasi CHED, no? Pati Department of Education, na yung mga schools na yon, undergrad. So nagre-require ng research for their students to graduate. Kailangan, when you do that, kailangan meron kang accredited REC, at least level 1. Let me emphasize, no, yung level 1 ngayon is a probationary level. Of course, you can stay at level 1, pero maximum level 1 ka for 3 years lang. Kailangan within 3 years, you have to move up to level 2. Yung ganon, no? Kasi yun nga, no, yung quality of the review, etc. No? Nandun sa guidelines yon on the accreditation. But you don't need to, kunyari, masteral degree, no, yung ganon, PhD. Even undergraduate university or academic institutions, kailangan nila. Unfortunately, ganun.
Sige po. Meron pa po tayo, Doc. We still have around 7 more or less na questions. So I'll
Okay
just
lang
run
ako.
through them.
Okay lang ako
Okay.
kasi kaya lang yung time ng ano natin.
Yeah,
That's what
sige po, sige po.
What do
Okay.
you suggest?
Sige po.
Would you like me to do it na? Okay lang.
Sige. Sige po, Doc.
Sige, what do you suggest or recommend on the context of Basic Education Research Ethics Committee? Basic Education Research Ethics, what do we have to focus on to provide quality research outputs in the context of schools division office? My understanding of this question is yung mga undergrad nga, no? Kung minsan nga high school lang, no, pinapag-research natin, no. Ang pinaka ko na dito is sana yung mga researchers naman at this level, parang more of yung teaching them, no, the basic procedures of how to do research and the hindi lang procedure, of course, the ethical guidelines on it, no? Para halos lahat sana ito exempted na lang, no? Sana simple lang yung i-require natin or i-allow natin na research sa mga batang ito, ng mga basic lang. Exceptional na yung mga students na kunyari undergrad lang, gusto niya talagang ambitious siya, magaling siyang mag-research, topic na advanced, no, yung mga exceptional yon. Sana yung mga estudyante natin bata pa, wag nating i-require, in fact, i-encourage natin na simpleng research lang, preferably yung minimal risk to participants or no more than minimal risk, no? Yun ang maano namin kasi if we allow them, no, yung mga sabihin, ilalaban natin yan sa contest, no, etc., no. Topic mo is about kunyari sexual abuse, no, yung mga ganon. Mga bata, no? Kapag kasi pinayagan mo yon, mandatory for the faculty member na nag-handle ng class na yun to closely supervise the study. Pag hindi magawa yon, mapapahamak yung mga researchers, pwedeng mapahamak yung mga participants. So in that context, I understand this question. Yung mga bata nating researchers na nagsisimula pa lang, we just want them to experience yung hindi naman yung mismong topic. So simpleng topic lang para almost all of these exempted sila from review.
Sige po. We'll take last two questions na lang, Doc. Kasi parang padami ng padami yung mga tanong natin. Very engaged
Well,
naman yung participants. Apa.
very encouraging din naman yun. No? Kung minsan kasi
Yeah,
pag wala
yeah.
lang nagtanong, baka isipin mo, nakinig ba talaga? Anyway,
Sige po.
it's up to you. No? I'm really fine with it. Sorry, may maingay lang sa neighbor ko dahil may construction. No? So hopefully naririnig pa rin ako. How do you see the balance between national level oversight and institutional RECs like UPM Red Diliman evolving in the future? Do you think we need more centralization, more uniformity in practices, and more autonomy at the institutional level? Wala naman akong masyadong nakikita dapat na difference, no? National level oversight versus UPM Reg or institutional oversight, no? Kasi if we comply with the basic, kumbaga, principles of research ethics, pare-pareho na lang yan. Sa palagay ko, no? Yung ganon. That's why, sana wag nating masamain yung accreditation process. Kasi pag sinabi natin, accredited naman yung nag-review ng REC na yan eh. Whether it's from an institution like UPM Rev, UP Diliman, or kami sa National Ethics Committee. Sabi ko nga po kanina, no, hindi porke National Ethics Committee kami, kami na yung pinakamagaling, kami na yung highest standard. No? Hindi, kasi we're still learning pa nga. Sabi ko nga, siguro yung leveling field na lang na yan is the accreditation process. So sana wag nating masamain na bakit kailangan pa ako magpa-accredit? Magaling naman ako, no? O binasa ko naman yung principles. I abide by the principles. The main issue kasi of the accreditation is you have parang someone looking over your shoulder na okay yung ginawa mo, okay yung ginagawa mo. And that lends credibility, no, di ba, to your work. Kasi kung kanya-kanya lang, no, sabi mo, may master's degree nga ako sa bioethics, etc., etc., no, yung agad. Yun lang masabi ko doon. No? So, I think the accreditation process will level all of this. Wala na sinasabing national oversight, institutional oversight, pare-pareho na to.
Sige po. Next slide po. Yung sa next question. Yan.
How does the NEC balance ethical protection of research with the need to encourage innovation, especially in studies that involve novel or high-risk methodologies? Kami po kasi sa NEC, sabi ko nga, level 2 po kami. No? We can review even clinical trials, no? Health trials. So, kunyari, bagong gamot o bagong way of teaching, no, etc. No? Yung mga innovative na to, no? We are not accredited to review, kunyari, a vaccine trial if that vaccine is intended to be registered with the Food and Drug Administration to be sold to people. Yun lang naman ang ano namin. So, sabihin natin novel, okay, pwede, no? Pero yung high-risk methodologies, actually, pwede rin yan. Wag lang silang produkto na innovative in a sense, no, novel na bagong vaccine, bagong drug na i-register pa sa Food and Drug Administration for sale. Otherwise, let me humbly say we can review, monitor, and finally approve even these novel and high-risk methodologies. Kunyari, high-risk methodologies, indigenous peoples, no? Yung research niya, di ba, medyo high risk yun kasi baka ano yung culture nila, ma-harm sila, etc., etc. No? O kaya, interview of victims of sexual abuse. Di ba? High risk yun. Pag tinanong mo, baka mag-suicide, etc., etc. So, okay naman po yun. We can balance that. Ang talagang limitation lang namin being level 2 is, yun nga yung sabi ko, if you're an institution, and I don't think Diliman is an institution that reviews proposal for drug trials, for example, vaccine trials, and these are for registration to FDA. Yun lang naman talagang pinaka ano doon. Again, kaya naman pong i-balance yun.
Sige po. Meron pa po tayo, Doc, dalawa sa slides and then 4 sa Q&A. Is it okay for you to
I'm
tapusin na
fine.
lang po natin yan? Okay, sige
Sure,
po.
okay lang ako.
Sige po.
Salamat for
Ito,
asking.
sige po.
Appreciative nga ako, you didn't require me to go to Diliman pa. No? Although I told Flora, sige, Flora, kahit pumunta ako kasi baka ano, yung ganun. Sabi naman ni Flora, we can manage naman po. So
Sige po.
it's ano sa akin. Nandito nga lang ako sa bahay, naka-shorts lang ako. What
Sige
emerging
po,
ethical
Doc.
issues do you foresee becoming most pressing in the besides big data or AI? We mentioned already AI, no? In fact, in our trainings in SIDTA, kasi nga involved ako sa SIDTA, AI is one of the emerging issue. The other one is genetic studies. Yung big data, walang masyadong problema yon eh. Yung big data kasi with technology, basta good protection against hacking, etc., etc. AI is certainly one of them. Ang problema lang sa AI, hindi lahat ng institutions parang meron na silang policy on the use of AI. Yung clear-cut policy, sino ba ang pwedeng gumamit, extent, ano yung mga rules on disclosure, sinong may credit dyan, paano mo i-check na talagang yung credit goes to yung AI lang ba o yung estudyante mo, no, etc. No? So again, research. As you can imagine, no, di ba? Hindi ako expert sa AI, pero what I understand is garbage in, garbage out, etc. No, yung mga ganun. So that's one, no? AI, certainly you're correct po in your question. Nagiging emerging issue yan. The other one is yung future pandemics. We learned a lot from COVID. No? We learned a lot from COVID, not only in terms of the science of the disease, but also on how to do research on emerging pandemics and medical emergencies. So, siguro sabihin natin, natuto na tayo, so ready na tayo sa next pandemic. Hindi pa siguro totally ready, no? Yung gano'n. So, it's something that I can foresee yung emerging ethical issues pa rin doon. Yung mga emerging medical or emergencies. Aside from it. Sige.
Po. Sige po. We have one last question sa slides. Ito po. This is from Facebook.
Who will nominate po and ano po qualifications ng REC like as standard guidelines? All right. Anyone from the members of the current, sa amin anong nangyari? National Ethics Committee members, sabi namin, we need more members kasi yung iba gusto na pares, etc. So for anyone from our membership, they submit names and then we ask preliminary kung ano yung application nila. And then we request for their CVs, no, and then we assess. Ang pinaka-ano doon, of course, is aside from yung non-affiliated and non-scientist, so yon clear-cut naman yung mga qualifications na hinahanap doon, no? Yung kanilang scientific background. For example po sa amin, merong doktor, kunyari ako, doktor, merong lawyer, no? Kasi we need to be familiar with the law sa committee namin. We need a social scientist, for example. So kung paalis na yung social scientist namin, kailangan yung next na hahanapin namin may sociology background, for example. Isa yun, no? Tapos meron din kaming kasi part of the work of the us, no, ethics committee and any committee is to look at the design, the scientific validity of the research proposal. So kunyari, statistical tests, number of subjects needed, objectives, etc., etc. No, yung mga ganon. So yung technical aspects. So kailangan na naman namin ng at least isang member na siguro marunong sa research design and clinical epidemiology, no, yung mga ganon. So those are the things that kasi kailangan nga all members yung committee is composed of, sabi natin, multidisciplinary. Okay? So, and then, pag nakita na namin yung CV nila, so mukhang okay itong candidate na to, we invite them, we send the invitation letter, and then we send all of these other obligations, duties, and their perks. And then when they accept the nomination, edi tuloy na, no? Then formally endorse na namin sa executive director. I guess that's what you do also, no? Kunyari sa Diliman, gusto ninyo, bawat committee ninyo, may ganito, different disciplines, etc., no? Multidisciplinary. That's what you do again. Yung ibang institutions po, no? Yung ibang institutions, in fact, kami rin, no? Meron kaming pastor na member, no? Yung iba, lalo na yung ibang may ganon. Kunyari, St. Paul's, etc., kasi Catholic. So, gusto merong priest o kaya madre na kasama sa committee, etc. Yeah? So, multidisciplinary pa rin.
Sige po. Okay, Doc. Tapos na tayo sa slides. May 4 na lang po tayo na remaining doon sa Q&A natin. Sige po. Mabasa nyo naman, Doc, no?
I'm pursuing a mixed method research of my PhD, and for qualitative, it will involve key informant interviews and I need to keep them. It's very confidential. I'm concerned that their participation could have mental health implications. How does the NEC see this situation? All right, so I'm supposing po you're a lawyer, you're doing PhD ba? Tama? Kasi nakalagay po UP Law eh. Most likely, the NEC, kunyari sa amin po, no, you're asking kasi about NEC, no? You will be required to prove that you are capable of dealing with a mental health issue when you do your KII, yung Key Informant Interview. I'm glad you realized that sensitive topics can incite negative reactions from your participant. You must be able to prove that in that situation, you can deal, not necessarily you, the reaction, the negative reaction, no, the adverse reaction can be dealt with and outlined in the protocol. For example, kayo po ba marunong ng psychological intervention? So kunyari sabihin nyo, hindi ako marunong yun eh. So dapat meron kayong co-investigator during the interview na nandun. Just in case magsimula ng umiyak o kaya medyo ayaw nang magsalita nung inyong kinakausap, someone who is trained to intervene is there so that you can, parang ito yung mga corrective measures that are in place in the protocol so that you can proceed. Hindi pwedeng basta na lang pabayaan yung, and this is dapat nandun sa protocol ninyo. Outline yun lahat. So it's not enough to, keep their identities secret, but during the interview mismo, baka mangyari nga, no, na yung sinasabi niyo. And I'm very happy you recognize this. No? Kaya lang dapat meron kayong remedial measures in place na naka-outline sa protocol ninyo. That's what we will look at in the, when I say we, in the National Ethics Committee. Okay. My experience for social science ethical reviews is that some reviewers try to medicalize these reviews. How can FREB help limit this? Sinasabi nga namin, sana lahat ng RECs merong social science experts within their committee to deal with this, no? Para may ano sila. We've been, when I say we, pati kami sa board, no, sinasabi namin, sana yung societies on social science, they can come up with concrete and hindi naman lang concrete, but workable, doable, functioning system so that they can offer an alternative to, kunyari, yung mga FREB, kunyari sa amin sa NEC. Although we have social scientists in our committee, so there is that perspective din naman, no? Para hindi siya na-medicalize as you put it. So again, very critical yung composition ng whatever committee is there. No? Check nila yun. Yeah. Where can we apply for FREB training and what are the requirements. Yun pong training ng FREB is handled by my committee, yung CIDTA, no? Committee on Information Dissemination, Training and Accreditation. Doon po sa portal namin, you can apply for the training. We offer basic research ethics training, good research practice, SOP training, and specialized training for yung mga deficiencies ng ibang RECs. So please go to our portal, no, yung Philippine Health Research Ethics Portal. You can just type that and then you can make inquiries there on the procedure for requests for training, which takes precedence, technical review of the REC or technical review of the unit's defense panel if there's a difference of views. Well, again, siguro, Master Stola. So usually meron technical panel, whether it's a thesis panel or not, before they send it to the REC for approval. Ang mandate po kasi ng REC, we believe kasi this is a universal, ano, if it is not technically sound, it cannot be ethical, right? That's why all RECs, no, including us in National Ethics Committee, we do a technical review pa rin, even if meron ng technical review yung kunyari defense panel or whatever panel, technical panel there is. Kunyari, ang tanong mo, kunyari merong sabi ng technical panel, approved na yan. And then may nakita pa kami, no, kunyari sa National Ethics Committee, no, may problema pa to. Sinong mangingibabaw? Ayaw namin makipag-away, pero usually what we say, kasi it's possible na yung technical parang aspect of the study has ethical implications. Right? Na baka hindi napansin ng technical reviewers o yung defense panel. Let me cite an example lang, concrete example. No? So kunyari yung technical panel o yung review panel, sinabi nila, you need 30 participants. For example lang po, 30 participants. But sabi nung kayang-kaya ko kahit 35 or 40. So nilagay niya doon, 40 participants kahit na yung yun. Just to illustrate lang, no? Sabi kasi sa National Ethics Committee, siguro sabihin namin, if 30 participants are sufficient to get good results, ganun, why will you bother additional 5 or 10 people, include them in your study, waste resources, waste time, etc., no? When 30 is enough. So don't put there 35 or 40, or don't try for 35 or 40 if 30 is enough. Kasi yung ethical implication nun, if you're getting more than what is necessary, you're bothering people, putting them at risk, you're wasting resources, etc., etc. No? Baka kasi yung point of view ng technical panel is, mas maganda pa nga 40 para talagang solid yung no? Yung etc., etc. Just to illustrate po, no, na kung minsan yung technical aspects, okay nga, pero hindi masyadong nakikita yung ethical consequences of those things. Kaya maganda rin naman na pag-usapan, no, kumbaga. Hindi naman namin sinasabing kami ang masusunod lagi, no? Pwede pag-usapan, no? Yung ganun. Siguro naman pag dun sa example ko, parang makes sense din naman, no? Posibleng hindi realistic yung example ko, pero that's what we mean, no? Yung ethical considerations. Ayan.
Yan po, sir. Maraming salamat po.
Oo, sana wala akong nasabing controversial. Baka sa totoo lang, no, over the past several weeks, siyempre, UP Diliman ito, no? yung mga natin. Yan, sabi ko nga kay Robert, sana siya na lang ang nag-lecture dito. Hindi, but
Thank you po, sir. Yeah.
So it's been an honor and privilege and I appreciate all your questions and your participation and your mga emoticons nyo.
Maraming salamat po, sir. And that ends po our 6th episode of the monthly ethics seminar series of the UP Diliman Research Ethics Board. Before we just end, sir, no, we'd like to present you with our certificate of recognition. No? Meron pong kaming virtual copy. Nasa screen po natin ngayon. Ayan, certificate of appreciation. We'll just provide you, sir, with a physical copy after
It's fine.
po ng Zoom natin. No?
Okay.
Ayan po. And for your exemplifying his expertise in contributing invaluable knowledge as resource speaker on Research Ethics Review, National Ethics Committee Experience during the sixth episode of the 2025 UP Diliman Research Ethics Board Monthly Ethics Seminar Series, Etika Inan at Etika Alaman, conducted on the 22nd of August 2025 at the NSRI conference room and via Zoom and Facebook Live. Given this 22nd day of August 2025, at the NSRI Conference Room, Miranda Hall, University of the Philippines, Diliman, and via Zoom. Ayan po. And we highly encourage po everyone else no to provide your feedback and suggestions on our MES episode today and to continually improve the quality and facilitation of our program. So access your certificates. Please fill out the evaluation form which you can access via scanning the QR code displayed on your screen. Ayan po. Ayan po yung evaluation form natin. Screenshot nyo na lang po, picturean nyo, or i-scan nyo na lang po din gamit yung phones nyo ngayon, if possible. By clicking the link. Yes, sir.
May I add lang kasi I saw a few other questions sa chat. No? Just in case there are other in the chat na na-miss ko or future questions pa, I would welcome if they send it to you and then send it back to me and then I'll try to answer them by email. Yeah.
Sige, sir. Sige pa. We'll send to you definitely na lang po, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Sige po. And that has been the end po of our MS episode 6 ngayong August. See you po next in the next MES episode. This will be on September 11 naman po. This time may physical appearance din po tayo. At the same time, around lunchtime po siya, 11:45 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. sa NSRI Conference Room Miranda Hall ng UP Diliman. Ang speaker po natin sa session na to would be Professor Ruben C. Mendoza. Ayan po. See you po on next month, no? Although it's a couple weeks na lang from now. This has been your moderator for today, Lakanoy Dorado Alegre. Mga salamat. Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Sana po naging masarap po ang naging ulam ninyo. Sir, sana kumain na kayo or kung kakain pa lang kayo, masarap din yung ulam nyo. And see you next month po, mga
Salamat.
kasama.
Thank you very
Salamat
much.
po.
Bye-bye.
Ayan po.